Okay, group, this is our Unit 11 quiz review, page 18. So numbers 1A through C talk about factoring by GCF. So we are going to divide out a common number and possibly a variable from each of these. So here, 12 and 48 are both divisible by 12. That's the largest number that goes into both. So we will put that outside of the parentheses. 12x divided by 12, the 12s cancel out to 1, and we're left with x. And then negative 48 divided by 12 is negative 4. So our final answer here is 12 times the quantity x minus 4. Here we have three terms. So 3, 6, and 30 are all divisible by 3. We have an x squared and x, but there's no x here, so we can't divide out an x. However, there is a y in each term, so we can divide out a y as part of our GCF. So here our 3's cancel out to 1, our y's cancel out to 1, but we are left with an x squared. Negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. Our y's cancel out to 1, we are left with the x. And then 30 divided by 3 is positive 10, and our y's will cancel out to 1. Okay, letter C, 24 and 8 are both divisible by 8, and both terms do have an x, and we always take the smallest variable exponent. 24 divided by 8 is 3, x squared over x to the first. We subtract those exponents, so we're left with x to the first. And then 8x divided by 8x is just 1. It's a positive 1. Okay, number 2, factor by grouping. So we should always have 4 terms when we do grouping. And we group in terms of 2. So the first 2 and then the second 2, and then we just find our GCF. So here we can divide out an x squared. So we're left with x minus 8 once we divide. Here we can divide out a 3. And I'm going to put a positive 3 there because having that sign there is going to help me in the future. So our 3's will cancel out to 1. We're left with x. Negative 24 divided by 3 is negative 8. We always want to check and make sure that our parentheses are the same. If they're not, we have to go back here because we did something wrong. But here we're good to go. So x minus 8 will be one of our factors. The other factor comes from your GCFs, x squared and positive 3. We put those together to form our second factor. And that is number 2A. 2B, same thing. Groups of 2. We'll factor out 4, and here we can do an x squared because we have x to the third and x squared there. Here we can factor out a negative 7. Okay, so here once I divide, my 4's cancel out to 1. I'm left with an x to the first. 4 divided by 4 is positive 10. My x squareds cancel out to 1. Bring down my negative 7 GCF. Those cancel out to 1, so I'm left with x. Negative 70 divided by negative 7 is positive 10. My parentheses are the same. So that'll be a factor, and then my 4x squared minus 7 makes my second factor. Okay, 3 is split the middle. So here, when x squared is by itself, we can kind of do a little bit of a cheer because this is a very simple split the middle problem. So we always take our first number divided by our last number. So 1 times negative 20 is negative 20. And we'll go ahead and find our factors of negative 20. Okay, so all of those would multiply to negative 20. We want to find the set that adds to 8. -2 and +10 would add to 8. Now, since this x squared only has a 1 in front of it, we can skip splitting the middle and go straight to our final answer. We have x here, -2 plus 10. That can only happen when we have x squared all by itself and it doesn't have a number other than 1. B and C will not be as easy as letter A. Okay, so for B and C we have to multiply our outside, so 3 times 10 is 30. And so we find all of our factors of 30. I think that looks good. And we're trying to add to -11. So when we look at multiplying to +30, we can do a positive times a positive or a negative times a negative. And we're going to have to do a negative times a negative to add to a negative. So make all of these negative. -5 and -6 would add to -11. So I'm going to go ahead and split my middle terms. So I'll have -5x minus 6x, and then I still keep my +10. So basically, my -11x became -5x minus 6x. From here, it's just factor by grouping. So for my first set, I can divide out an x. So I'm left with 3x minus 5. My second set, I can factor out a -2. So I'm left with 3x minus 5. Again, those parentheses have to be the same. So my 3x minus 5 comes down, and then my x minus 2 makes my other factor. Okay, letter C, we'll do 8 times -9, which is -72. So we'll have lots of different options here. Ooh, that would work. So if I do -6 and +12, that would multiply to -72, and -6 plus 12 would get me +6. So now I can split my middle terms. I'm going to come down here and do it so I have some more room. So basically I split this guy into -6x plus 12x. That's what you see here. I brought down my x squared and my -9. Now I can group. So my first two, I'm left with a 4x minus 3 and a 4x minus 3. Awesome, my parentheses are the same. So that's one of my factors, and then my 2x plus 3 is my second factor.